Hold up. Wait a minute.
This is Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
Let's take a trip around the curve. Hi everybody, how you doing? It's your girl Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Film Critic. Happy Easter, y'all. I hope you had some nice lamb and some rabbit stew and some Easter eggs and some chocolate bunnies and some Reese's chocolate bunnies and all the things. So welcome and thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time joining me, give me a big thumbs up to let me know that you were here, because otherwise I won't know that you stopped in. And what we do here is we talk about movies. I do movie reviews, and every once in a while I'll have some people that I will talk to above or below the line in the film industry. Today, we have the director of a documentary called We Want the Funk. Her name is Nicole London, and she's the co-director along with Stanley Nelson. It's a documentary that I love, but I'll get into it in a little bit. I usually tell y'all what I did the week before, but instead of doing that, I'm just going to give a film some shout out that I love. Y'all, Sinners is in theaters. It is in theaters. That is me doing my best, like I'm waiting for the vampire look. Pure comedy. It is in theaters. It debuted at 100% on the tomato meter at Rotten Tomatoes. They are talking about Ryan Coogler is upsetting the studio system, and baby folk are up in arms. But let me just reiterate, this is the first original film that Ryan Coogler has written and directed since Fruitvale Station. He's known for the Creed franchise and for the Black Panther franchise, but Sinners is the second film that he has written and directed that is not based on a franchise. So I just wanted to say congratulations to Mr. Ryan Coogler. Today we're going to talk about a film that I love. It is called The Wedding Banquet, and it stars Bowen Yang, Kelly Marie Tran, Lily Gladstone, among others. And who else is in here? Han Gi Chan, Joan Chen, and Yoon Yu Jung. I'll talk about that in a minute, but I have a lot of things to say. And then we're going to talk a little bit about swift horses and, of course, The Accountant, too. So let's start with a little swift horses action, shall we? I saw this film. It stars Jacob Elordi and Daisy Edgar Jones. Um, so this is what it's about. It's based on a novel by the same name that's written by Shannon Pufall. And the film is directed by Daniel Minahan, who also directed Deadwood, the movie. And it follows Muriel, played by Daisy, and her husband, Lee, played by Will Poulter, as they are at the beginning of their new life in California upon Lee's return from the Korean War. But their newfound stability is upended by the arrival of Lee's charismatic brother, Julius, played by Jacob, a wayward gambler with a secret past, honey. A dangerous love triangle quickly forms, and when Julius takes off in search of the young card cheat he's fallen for, Muriel's longing for something more propels her into a secret life of her own, gambling on racehorses and exploring a love that she never saw possible. Now, let me tell y'all something. This film for me read like a really dated romance novel, like one of them romance novels that you see Fabio with his hair cascading in the wind. That's what it sounds like. A period piece romance novel is what it felt like in the theater. And no shade to the filmmakers or the woman that wrote the book, but the audience that I watched it with was a bunch of teenage girls, and they laughed their asses off the whole movie. I didn't think it was a funny movie, but apparently they thought it was hilarious. But to me, it did feel a little dated, and maybe that's why they were laughing. Daisy Egan Jones, I keep calling her Egan because there's a girl on Broadway named Daisy Egan. Daisy Edgar Jones, I keep saying that child's name wrong. She is the queen of I'm going to be in a movie that's been adapted from a novel. Because during COVID, don't you remember she was the lead in that movie When the Crawdads Sing? Now, I loved When the Crawdads Sing, but this one, I don't know, y'all. there were elements of it that I liked. So I love the costume design. I love the cinematography. It was beautiful. I love the periodness of it all. It kind of made you want to like go back into that time period and do your thing. And I also love that it embraced the LGBTQ plus aspect of it. So when they talk about Muriel and Julius having these secret lives, Muriel is a cis woman who's married to a straight man, but because she is bored out of her mind and wants something more exciting happening in her life than this comfortable life that her husband Lee has provided for her, she kind of steps outside of her boundaries and has this affair with this young woman up the road played by Sasha Kaye. Now, Sasha then stepped away from The Flash and then jumped into this period piece playing a lesbian with a short haircut, making her look a lot like Oscar winner Ariana DeBose. I thought it was Ariana DeBose for a minute until I saw the credits. I'm like, oh, that's Sasha Kaye from The Flash. Okay, anyway. Her acting is superb. All of the actors are superb. They do a great, great job. I just feel like the material that they were given was a little less than what their talent is, and their talent made the film better than it is, if that makes sense. And it also delves with hiding your authentic self. So Muriel is trying to hide her authentic self and these feelings that she's having for this other woman, while Julius is trying to hide his authentic self. But he didn't hide it from his brother Lee, because Lee always knew what time it was, and he alludes to that at some point during the movie, but they never really have a discussion about it out loud. You know, yeah, I don't know if the young kids are gonna like it or not, because I'm telling you, the audience that I watched it with, they were cracking up. So I don't know if they're gonna love it or not, but On Swift Horses is coming to theaters, y'all. And yeah, make a decision for yourself. The Wedding Banquet. I loved this movie so incredibly much, because this is the thing. It's directed by Andrew Ahn, and it comes from a joyful comedy. It's about a joyful comedy airs about a chosen family navigating cultural identity, queerness, and family expectations. Frustrated with his commitment-phobic boyfriend, Chris, and running out of time, Min makes a proposal. Min is played by Han Gi Chan, and Chris is played by Bowen Yang. Are you with me so far? Okay, good. Now, Min needs a green card in order to stay in the country, but instead of him proposing to Chris, he proposes to Angela for her and her partner Lee to pay for their IVF, because they have been trying to have a baby and they're not able to do that. I'm gonna come on camera so you can see me. So Lee, played by Lily Gladstone, Lee and Angela have been trying to have a baby, but they've been unsuccessful at it, and they don't have the money to forego another round of IVF. IVF is really hella expensive, y'all. It's so expensive. My godmother went through that, and I don't even know how much money her and my godfather paid, but the result gave them three beautiful god sisters that I cherish and love them like they're my own. But I digress. Anywho, everything. So they're gonna Angela and Min had planned to elope, but then Min has to tell his grandmother what time it is, and his grandmother's like, I need to come to America and see what the shenanigans are about. And then shenanigans literally ensue. This film is gorgeously written, is gorgeously acted, and is gorgeously directed. I loved everything about it. And it is proving that life is exactly what you make it out to be. Min, Angela, Chris, and Lee have circumstances that for all four of them are not wonderful. They don't have wonderful circumstances in front of them, and their choices are all over the place. But they make the best of what life has given them. And this is the thing. You can either make the best out of what you are given in life, or it can be angst ridden, or it can be the thrill ride of a lifetime. And that is what I got from watching The Wedding Banquet. I loved it so much, y'all. I really did. It's a beautiful film. I can't say enough about it. I also loved it as a breakout flick for Kelly Marie Tran. Kelly Marie Tran has a film that is on the Hulu channel right now, where it's like a horror movie. It's called Control Freak. And she plays this woman. I talked about it earlier this year. She talks about this. She plays this woman who um, has this itch in her head, and is in like she like scratches it till it's raw, and a whole bunch of other things happen as a result of that. You can watch one of the other episodes to see what's going on with that. But she's having a year, and this is the thing. What I love about this moment for Kelly Marie Tran is that she is being given an opportunity this year with these projects to flex her muscles in ways that she was not allowed to do when Star Wars came out. There was so much backlash for this young lady when Star Wars came out, because the white folks had a nervous breakdown when they saw somebody that was brown and Asian up in the Star Wars franchise. This is the thing. It's Star Wars. There is no like definitive race or gender, if you want to call it that. Like, there's nothing definitive about any of that in that world. So I have a really hard time understanding why people were all in their feelings about that. Having said that, she's having a year. I'm excited for her. Who also is having a year is Bowen Yang. Bowen Yang was in Wicked at the end of last year. He'll be in the sequel, not the sequel, but the part 2 of Wicked called For Good. He plays one of Galinda's best friends. And in this film, though, and he's on Saturday Night Live every Saturday, you can catch him and check him out. But this film gives him an opportunity to stretch his dramatic chops, as he had the opportunity to do so when he was in Fire Island. And FYI, but not really, this film is also directed by the same dude who did Fire Island. So Bowen and Andrew are reuniting on this project, and it's really great. The other thing that's great about The Wedding Banquet is that we get to see Asian culture from a different vantage point. We get to see how the wedding is planned out from the beginning to the end, and how beautiful it is, and how ceremonious it is, and how, you know, there's certain traditions and things that go in that you don't get to see very often, but it's really quite lovely to watch. And I enjoyed everything about that. I really, really, really did. But let me talk about Miss Yoon Yu Jung, honey, because she is letting us have it with this film. She plays the grandmother. Now, she was an Oscar winner last year, and she is fantabulous, but she's fantabulous as an Oscar winner because she is showing you that grandmas are grandmas. She's playing a grandma that has a lot of empathy for her grandson, who she's always recognized as a little different, but she's also giving you that grit, like, okay, I don't know who you thought you was fooling, but I'm not the one. And I laughed out loud at that because mistakenly and probably foolishly, I thought black grandmamas are the only ones that do that, but apparently all grandmamas do that, no matter what race you are. So I kind of dug her for that, and I really, if I can't tell you anything else, I highly implore all of you to go see this film. It's so, so, so good. It is really, really, really good. All right. Again, that film is called The Wedding Banquet, and it stars Kelly Marie Tran, Bowen Yang, Hangi Chen, Joan Chen, Yoon Yu Jung, and it is going to be in theaters. All of these films are in theaters on April 25th. You do not want to miss them. I promise you, you do not. Now, let's talk about We Want the Funk. So I got an email about this documentary called We Want the Funk, and I'm gonna come back so that you can see me. Oops, I'm hitting everything but the button I want to hit. All right, here we go. So I got this email about this documentary called We Want the Funk. And the first thing I thought about was, we want the funk, ba-da-da-da-da-da, gotta have that funk. If you don't know that song, get with the program, honey. It is by Parliament Funkadelic, which was founded and created by George Clinton. And when I was a teenager, they were huge. They were huge. And the thing about their concerts were, so I think Earth, Wind, and Fire used to have a pyramid drop down on stage, and then Parliament Funkadelic used to have a spaceship funk down on stage. And honey, they was all high and half naked and just carrying on. But I digress. So We Want the Funk is a documentary that is available on the PBS app and PBS YouTube. So if you go to the PBS YouTube channel, you'll be able to watch this documentary for free. It is distinctly rooted in joy and funk music, reflecting a post-civil rights movement, and it examines the symbolic relationship between the explosion of funk music out of the Midwest and the political and racial dynamics in 1970s inner city America. Now, there's a star-studded voyage that's happening through the journey of funk music. The film delves into the genre's influence on contemporary music, fashion, freedom of expression, as well as the rise of hip hop as a result of funk music. And at the heart of the film are these firsthand stories, recollections, and experiences from the people who created and defined, along with additional perspectives from Questlove, Thomas DeFrance, Marcus Miller. There's archival footage with James Brown, Elton John, David Bowie. One of the people that's featured in the documentary is Donnie Simpson. And FYI, but not really, I was one of Donnie Simpson's interns at Black Entertainment Television, and so was Billy Woodruff. If that name sounds familiar, Billy Woodruff was the director of the Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls. He was the director of that music video with TLC. He and I were interns at BET. Just saying. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let Miss Nicole London, the co-director of this film, along with Stanley Nelson, and let her tell you more about the film. Here we go. First of all, I just want to applaud you because I have been screaming the name Hazel Scott for like decades. And wow. When I found out that you did a piece on her, I was so excited, and I watched it and it was lovely. And I learned some things about her that I didn't know. That brings me into this question. You seem to gravitate toward things that are steeped in our history. And I'm wondering, what is it about our history that makes you go, you know what, I'm going to reach back and grab this person, or I'm going to reach back and grab this subject and put a spotlight on it so that people don't forget?
Well, Black history is American history. It's everybody's history, you know? And, you know, it's still crazy that it's 2025 that we still have to kind of remind people of that. But yes, I mean, these are the stories that attract me. They're part of my history. And I'm actually intellectually as curious about the topics that I work on, as much as the viewers that I'm hoping to reach, you know? So it's nothing. I can't say there's a film that I've worked on that I wasn't deeply interested in the subject.
Why do you think funk is so hard to identify? Do you think it's more of an attitude or a feeling?
It is more of an attitude and a feeling. And we find that it means different things to different people. And I think Todd Boyd says it really great in the film. It's like, you might not be able to define what it is, but you know what it isn't.
I love that. That's true. That is definitely
more
true.
Than anything, you know, we as Black people, we know what it isn't.
That is true. That is true. And I also loved about hearing, because I'm a musician vocally. So I loved hearing from people like Marcus Miller about when they start talking about James Brown, how the downbeat was on the one for anything that dealt with a bass line or a guitar line. It was like, dun, 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 dun. Like, I loved hearing that. I think innately I knew that, but hearing somebody say it was like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense, because you even when you're dancing to that music, you kind of dip into the one, not the 2, 3, and 4, but you dip into the one. I love that. What did funk mean to you before this project, and what does it mean to you now?
Before, I guess when I think about funk as like a thing, before it meant to me my older sisters. I had older sisters who were Parliament Funkadelic fans. They brought home those first Prince records, you know, and I was a little kid, and seeing those things, I was just like, and the record covers. Oh, my parents had Ohio Players record covers and the boobies on the covers and things like that. I was just fascinated by this music. We had a Jimmy Castor Bunch record growing up.
No, not the Jimmy Castor Bunch.
Jimmy Castor, the Bertha Butt Boogie, I was obsessed with. And you don't know how hard I tried to work it into the film, but it didn't work. But these things, funk meant like this world that I was trying to get to, that when I would be older, that I would have access to. But as a kid, I didn't realize I was living in it already.
Mm.
Like I
Yeah.
said, it's like I loved to dance when I was a kid. It's just something I knew that made me feel good, made me want to move, and it stayed with me the rest of my life.
How did you and Stanley end up collabing on this project?
We had actually worked on a Miles Davis documentary 5 years ago that came out for American Masters. And at the after party where it premiered at Sundance, we had the after party, and our co-producer at the time wanted to like, oh, this is a great experience. What should the next film be? And Stanley floated the idea of funk because we were, the Miles Davis experience. I think we had a band playing at the party that was a funk band, essentially. And there was blaring, people having a good time, and Stanley just thought of off the top of his head funk. And I was like, well, if that's going to be the next one, call me.
I love that. I love that. Now, you mentioned who your sister's favorite artists were and how you were trying to work in Jimmy Castor. But was Jimmy Castor your favorite funk artist?
Say my favorite. I never had a favorite. You're never going to pin me to a favorite. But but there were so many. I loved Jimmy Castor bunch. I loved Parliament Funkadelic. I loved the Commodores and Earth, Wind and Fire. There were just those couple Ohio Players band, the Isley Brothers. There were so many bands. There was just so much music. I didn't really think of it as like one thing.
Yeah. Did you have at any time during this process, did you have a revelation about funk and the origins and where it is now, how it kind of bled into hip hop during the process of making this film?
Those are all things that I knew. But the revelations, I think, came through the interview process, like Donnie Simpson mentioning Elton John out of nowhere, and then interviewing Kirk Franklin and him also mentioning Elton John out of nowhere. That kind of thing. So like those kind of relationships, I wouldn't have necessarily made on my own. Of course, I would have thought, that's a funky record, but that's not a particular one that really I had considered. Fame, absolutely. Once in a lifetime, absolutely. That was a given from the beginning that we knew that we were going to talk about this song. But yeah, those kinds of things that you discover in the process of making the film, those are like some of the most precious. And then Carlos Alomar talking about working with James Brown and David Bowie. It was just great. And Fred Wesley. That's my heart.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite moments too. Carlos talking about how he got. First of all, let's talk about how he talked about how he got fired by James Brown because he couldn't get that groove right. Because you heard a lot of times over the years that James did not tolerate people in the band messing up. I remember Deborah Draper, I spoke to her. She did a documentary about James Brown, and she spoke about that same thing about how when it came to his musicians, he did not tolerate people not getting in that groove. So to hear Carlos give a firsthand, account of what that was pure comedy for me. And also to hear George Clinton kind of talk about how he's like, yeah, I took this from this person. And it's funny how everybody kind of quote unquote borrowed, some kind of downbeat or some kind of groove or some kind of note from one another in order to create their own sound. And when you really go back and listen to it, because what this made me do is it made me go back and listen to it. Because I have a box set, a collector's box set of Parliament Funkadelic. So I went back downstairs and listened to Flashlight and listened to We Got the Funk and listened to some of these other songs just so I could hear the groove that they were talking about so I could prepare to talk to you today. And I'm really glad that I did. This has been so much fun talking to you, Nicole. What do you have coming up next?
Well, I'm just pretty much working on finishing up the paperwork on these two films. Hazel is more finished than this one, but there's just like little last minute things, and then looking forward to what the next thing will be. This will take a lot of time for the next few months, though.
Yeah, well, I hope whatever you work on next that you'll come back and talk to me about it so that we can kiki and have a good little conversation.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I love Nicole. She has the cutest little laugh. Again, you guys, we want the funk is over on the YouTube channel for PBS or the PBS app. You will love it. It's so much fun, and it'll have you snapping and checking out those old school jams. Just to reiterate, Sinners is in theaters right now, 100% on the Rotten Tomato meter. You definitely want to check this one out in IMAX. It hit theaters on April 18th. On Swift Horses is going to be in theaters this week on April 25th, starring Jacob Elordi and Daisy Edgar Jones. The Wedding Banquet with Bowen Yang, Lily Gladstone, Kelly Marie Chan, and my brother over there on the left who plays men. That will be in theaters this week as well. It is called what? The Wedding Banquet, and it has a nice little LGBTQ plus story. The Accountant 2. Did I talk about The Accountant 2? I didn't. Let me talk about The Accountant 2. I forgot about that one, child. I was about to sign off. Oh my God, I was definitely about to sign up. Look, before I do that though, let me see what folk are saying in this chat room. Aw, of course, my boy Brandon. Happy Easter. Thank you. Happy Easter to you too, Brandon. And Joe James gave a shout out to Billy. Not Billy Porter, but Billy Woodruff. Billy Woodruff is the director of the TLC video Waterfalls that I talked about when I was talking about one of the reviews. All right. So let me get into this one. I had forgotten all about The Accountant, baby. So the first film, The Accountant, was a huge hit for Ben Affleck, so much so that they have come back with a sequel called The Accountant 2. And baby, are we glad they did, because let me tell you something about Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck, let me turn this over to someone. Ben Affleck is a beast. He did this, y'all. He did this. Okay, so let me just calm down. So he plays Christian Wolf. He's back playing Christian Wolf again, and he has a talent for solving complex problems. When an old acquaintance is murdered, leaving behind a cryptic message, find the accountant on his arm, Wolf is compelled to solve the case, realizing more extreme measures are necessary. Wolf recruits his estranged and highly lethal brother, Brax, played by John Bernthal. I love me some John Bernthal, to help in partnership with U.S. Treasury Deputy Director Mary Beth Medina, played by Cynthia Adair Robinson. They uncover a deadly conspiracy, becoming targets of a ruthless network of killers who will stop at nothing to keep their secrets buried. Baby, when I tell you the action in this movie was kicking my ass, I had whiplash. I was like, I was screaming, hollering, at my neck hurt when that movie stressed me the f out. Can I just say that? It stressed me the F out. I was like, what the hell is happening? But I was there for all of it. The chemistry between John Bernthal and Ben Affleck is amazing. They are fabulous together, and they kind of look very similar. So you kind of believe that they could be brothers. The fight scenes, they're long as hell, but they are insane, and they are fabulous to watch. Like, I was riveted. And honey, let me tell you something. These days, it's hard to get me to stay awake for anything, because I'd be like, oh, I'm tired. But that film had me engaged from the top to the bottom. I'm just saying, and them fight scenes were the bomb. Mostly because there was a fight scene between Cynthia and Daniela. Daniela was like the evil person. Cynthia was like the hero person, like she was the cop. Daniela was like the person they were coming after. Them two dogs, they have a fight scene where I was like, ooh, I hope they had some stunt doubles, because baby, my back hurt for them. It was fabulous. And I also love when women are in these films. I love nowadays that a lot of these producers and directors and writers are having the women be equal counterparts to the men in these films, as opposed to being a prop. And when I say being a prop, I mean not being the wife and taking care of dinner, or being the girlfriend waiting for the guy to come back while they're all forlorn that they're gone. These girls were kicking butt and taking names, and they were standing in their truth and in their strength. And I was there for every moment of it. I also love how this week in particular, autism was in the news, and this film is dropping. So for those of you who have been under a rock, the one who shall remain nameless, because I don't want to get hit with a slander suit, is in charge of health for our country, and came online and said that people that have autism can't do things for themselves, that they basically, without saying it, but saying it, he basically was saying that they're useless human beings and that we shouldn't be spending government dollars on helping them to thrive in society. When I tell you some of my colleagues came out and blasted him, they shall remain nameless too, because I don't want them to get in trouble. But one is an editor for a very prestigious publication, and the other one is the daughter of somebody that may or may not have created the Black characters on Sesame Street. You can fill in the blanks. But what I will say is, it kind of made the health person look kind of crazy. It made him look not very bright, because I know lots of people that are autistic. I have a relative that's autistic, and he is very capable of taking care of himself. He's smarter than the average bear, and probably smarter than the person that's running the health department. So there's that. It was just a very ignorant statement to make, but I say that because I bring it up for the purposes of this film delves into that world and shows how, even though somebody that is autistic or on the spectrum even is socially awkward, and my favorite scene in the whole movie, and this won't be giving anything away for you, but my favorite scene in the whole movie, which brings me to this fabulous point, is a scene where they're in a like a honky tonk Western bar, and Chris sees this woman, a Black woman at that, and is feeling some kind of way. He like wants to go talk to her, and the conversation didn't go well, so he makes his way to the dance floor and ends up in a straight up line dance with this woman, and which ultimately leads to some other things. But that just goes to show you, he was smart enough and alert enough to go, ooh, my talking skills weren't so great, but maybe I can impress her with my dance skills. And he got up on the dance floor. People that have autism, people that have any kind of disability or anything that makes them different, it doesn't make them an idiot. It makes them a savant, is what it makes them. And it makes them better than the average bear, and probably better than you and some of the people that you know. So the next time this person decides to come out of their face and say something crazy like that, they might want to take a look at the accountant. I'm just saying. Okay. Now back to what I was telling you. Go see The Accountant 2. Oh my God, with Ben Affleck and John Barenthal starring as brothers in crime. Again, go see Sinners. It's been in theaters for the last couple of days and it's kicking butt on Swift Horses is in theaters. The Wedding Banquet is coming to a theater near you. And of course, what was the other movie I talked about? I said On Swift Horses, The Wedding Banquet, Accountant 2. I think that was it. Oh, and We Want the Funk, the documentary that is over on the PBS app and the PBS YouTube channel. When I come back next week, I am going to talk about Drop. Now, I know Drop has been out for a minute, but I want to see it and I want to talk about it. I'm also going to talk about Another Simple Favor, and I'm going to talk about, possibly, depending on when the embargo lifts for this one, I'm going to talk about The Thunderbolt, starring my girl Florence Pugh. I can't wait for this one. It's been a minute since Marvel has come out with some new content, so I'm really kind of looking forward to talking about all of that. I do have some interviews that I'm doing this week. I don't know if they're going to pan out or not, so I don't want to say what they are. So y'all will be surprised right along with me when I do them or not do them. But I will be back next week talking about those movies, okay? For those of you that joined me, shout out to Joe James, and for Brandon and everybody else who was in here live. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this via YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook Live, Instagram, or X, thank you so much for tuning in and joining me and supporting me. I wholeheartedly appreciate it. I appreciate every click. I appreciate every watch. Even if you speed through it, honey, I don't care, as long as you tuned in. So until the next time, love, peace, and hair grease. And I'll see you when I see you. Bye.
Hold up. Wait a minute. you